In today's job market, standing out isn't just an option, it's a necessity. To get hired, candidates must deploy effective strategy in job interviews that will set them apart. But how can you ensure you are the candidate that leaves a lasting impression?
So for storytelling in job interview, for me, I see it as a two-way thing. It's an employer has to create a compelling story about the brand, which is what they put out there when they're advertising for a role. Then the candidate that is also applying has to also create a compelling story about themselves, which is what they put in their CV, what they put in their cover letter. You see some candidates go as far as putting their LinkedIn page. That is to give more idea about that person who is applying for that role. Some even put their picture. For me, I am indifferent, but everybody with every candidate decides what they want to put out there.
Storytelling is like one of the most important factors in the sense that it helps you to drive your point. So if you are trying to give an example or an interviewer asks you a question, you have to give examples. That's a way of telling stories. I believe that everybody has a story to tell. Coming to work today, you have a story to tell. I have a story to tell. We're sitting down here, there's a story behind it. So there's always a story behind everything. So when you're in an interview, storytelling helps to sell your idea better. It helps to build your imaginations and that of the interviewer, and it helps to drive the point.
Storytelling during interviews, for me, absolutely necessary, especially compelling stories that will help the job seeker to sell him or herself and the skills they possess.
As a recruiter, I've had interactions with several candidates, and most times when you look at their CV, you see a lot of details that are not really needed related to whatever job they are applying to. So two things I always tell candidates to be conscious of when speaking about themselves, be it in their CV or their cover letter or their statement of purpose, should be highlight your behavioral skills and highlight your technical skills. Those two things are very key, because aside the things that you put out on a candidate puts out on his or her CV, the other things are key to these two things I've mentioned are key to the job. So take for instance, as a data analyst, the kind of technical skills that they want to see on them once a candidate applying for a data analyst role is probably something that has to do with I am skilled in using Power BI, that's a tool, or using Excel. You understand? So those are examples of technical skills, you understand? Then you can see maybe for someone who is applying for a civil engineering or construction, you can say, okay, I'm skilled in using AutoCAD software, things like that. That is referring to your technical skills. So things like that, you have to add them. It must relate to the role you are applying for.
I think it also depends on the level, because for every level there's an expectation. For entry level, you might not have so much experiences based on the job, but of course you have life experiences. At any point in time, you've been a leader in the family, society, football clubs, church clubs, even in your neighborhood. So middle level managers, of course, you have a longer years of work experience, so you can easily drive a point and you can tell clearer stories better. For C-level suites, it's more of strategy and deep thinking. So it depends on the role, it depends on the level the person is coming into in the organization.
So maybe we'll get to the point where you have AI or robots. I think that's even happening now, but we have a lot of people, especially if you look at our own society, Nigeria, people interview people for roles. So when it comes to people interviewing people, the human emotion will definitely come to play. So when you talk about human emotion, you talk about bias. So if someone walks into the room and I won't want to call any name of any brand, but there are certain brands that when they are looking for a marketer or a sales rep, they say they need someone who is so, things like that. If I'm a recruiter and I'm recruiting for a brand, I know, okay, my client is very particular about looks. Once a candidate walks into the room and in my head, it doesn't fit into that picture, my bias kicks in, you understand? So yes, there are times like that when a candidate comes in, it could be maybe the way the candidate is dressed, it doesn't look so appealing, it doesn't fit the role. It could be the way the candidate carries himself, no confidence, things like that. And you already put off just by that you've seen first of all. Age also comes into play. Some clients are very particular about age, but it's discriminatory. So I personally, I don't even dabble into that. But these other things I've mentioned are key.
There was a case that a candidate came in, he was very shy. He couldn't express himself well because, of course, he hadn't worked before. But over time, the interview was friendly and was able to calm down. And I gave him scenarios. He didn't have examples of stories to tell, but I asked him, he said he plays football. Who is in charge of the football team? He said he's the one that is the captain. That's perfect. So give us stories that helped you to solve problems, that helped you to bring your team together, that you can bring on board. And he was able to use the idea he had to sell me what he had in his mind.
So when it comes to job interview, develop yourself, build yourself, upskill, learn skills that are related to the job you are applying for. And like I said before, from the get-go, your CV already is you selling yourself. So on your CV, you have to be able to sell yourself effectively. And what do I mean by that? Your skill set, your personality traits, all of that, your passion. I'm not really a fan of people adding their hobbies, whether you like to play football, but things like nowadays, we don't expect you as a person to go, okay, I like to, yes, traveling might be, depends on what role you're applying for. If you're applying for a remote role, I don't expect you to put, I love to travel. It doesn't really add much to what you're applying for. But things like, okay, yes, if you're applying for a marketing role, I want to meet people. It has to be, whatever you are putting on your CV has to be related to what you're applying for, you understand?
Quite a number of times. Usually when job seekers come in, a lot of people are on the edge, a bit nervous, but the minute we're able to get them to a point or suggest to them to say a story, they relax more and they sell themselves better. My advice to job seekers, before you enter that interview room, have a couple of compelling stories that will shine the light on the skills that the recruiters are actually looking for.
So, next time you step into a job interview, remember the power of storytelling. It might just be the key to unlocking your next career opportunity.